Sam Bankman-Fried. They actually got his girlfriend to testify against him.
I feel like when you start making money like that, you haven't seen it before, it's probably so addictive. You can imagine.
For sure, yeah. That's probably the other thing. Like, once you start tasting it, you don't want to stop.
Moral of the story, you can solve all this. Can't sentence you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Offense. Thank you for tuning in today. Once again, we have a new set. This time, it was not really planned. This kind of just happened out of the blue. But I think it's going to work out better. So welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It's been a few weeks. And if you get some value out of this, subscribe. It helps us keep doing this. So
Don't be alarmed if the quality's down. The IRS seized all of our stuff because we didn't pay our back taxes.
I got them on a payment plan, so I'm actually covered.
It's like they're filming. It's like we're filming on like flip cams now.
Little eye cams.
Have you ever seen that one video where the guy's like the video about crack, and he's like, I'm gonna do a research experiment about crack. It's like 2 weeks in, he's like, I need it, man. I need it. Like, I keep going with it.
Did he get
man.
addicted?
Yeah, it's like a fake video. It's funny as fuck.
They had like a whole thing like that on Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Did they?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys watched that show. Do you?
That's a great show.
Then the part's like when like he has like this nice camera at the beginning, then all of a sudden he's on like this piece of shit camera. He's like, and it's like the quality's way shit. He's like, we upgraded to a new cam.
Need $2 more grand on my GoFundMe.
Yeah, I imagine this will like look different too as we like settle into this space.
Oh yeah,
that'll probably change quite a bit.
Yeah, to give you guys some context, we're in the same building, but our main company, Square Waves, where we kind of host the studio for the podcast, used to be downstairs. Now we moved upstairs on a whim. We were supposed to be in
Really
our space
nice
until
we
June.
got super lucky. It's awesome.
Got lucky as hell. It's beautiful. And now we have more room for different angles. There's more stuff to play around with. And I think it's going to look a lot better overall.
Yeah.
All that hard work.
Yeah, literally right as we moved, right as you did that, we just
no one understands the pain I went through. Drywall.
We could maybe do the floors over here too.
We can do the floors.
We could find something
Let's just
to
do that.
Down
and I were saying we might not do that in our office.
Let's just do the floors in the whole office. Ball out.
Not a bad idea. A couple more subscribers, we'll be able to actually decorate this studio properly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's all it takes.
Let's just put them over here. Okay.
You know, I think it's a true testament to doing good business because while we're growing, WeWork is dying. You like the transition?
Yeah, that's good.
It's pretty
that was
clean,
a good transition. Honestly, everyone gives that guy so much shit, Adam Newman. But like, I mean, if you watch the show WeWork on or We Crashed on Apple TV, I think
solid show.
Such an amazing show.
What's the guy's name that plays him? Jared Leto?
Yeah, and Anne Hathaway's in it, I think too.
Top tier show.
And I gotta say, after watching everything, like he was a madman. But at the end, like he won. Like he failed, but like he's still a billionaire, right?
And he still built a massive company. You know what's mind blowing too to me, actually, is the amount of people. Because I feel like, are you familiar with WeWork or no?
I know the buildings, yeah, but the show I've seen only.
I feel like we know so much about it,
yeah,
but like no one else knows about what WeWork is.
Yeah, the whole story is insane. Like they were valued at like, it was like the biggest IPO quote unquote failure in history because they were way overvalued. They were super like spiritual. So they didn't want to write like an actual IPO, like, you know, they have all the paperwork to like go out with like the filing. They like wanted to talk about like more of their vision and stuff than their actual numbers. Anyways, they were valued at like 47 billion. When it actually came out, didn't it drop to like 3 billion?
It was 17 billion or something. It was still insane. Like he still did a great fucking job.
It was just that like they came out like way overvalued. So people who bought in early got fucked kind of. He was just overspending, going crazy. He thought he was gonna be like a trillionaire, tried to open schools, just like not staying in his lane. Classic story of someone who like once he got to that point should have hired a CEO that could have ran that. I think his wife had a big part in where they went and everything, but he did all right. He's doing all right now.
Yeah.
How long was the span for that? Like how fast did he grow
years. Like I think he got to the billions in like 5 to 10 years, something like that.
And they ended up getting.
He's a genius, but he's crazy. Like he's like
a great salesman. He's a great founder. He's a bad CEO.
What's the word for it? Like not creative genius, but like a
madman.
Yeah, but there's like a
visionary.
Yeah, there's a word for people who like are destructive but geniuses.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A douchebag.
A douchebag.
Honestly,
he's got the shit. He knows what he built a huge company.
Yeah, you can't really.
And then he just kept burning it.
Are all the buildings? Because I've seen WeWork. Yeah. So are they still up or?
Yeah. So they actually were just talking about. We were just watching a video on this. It was essentially like I even remember when they were watching the show and then all the other research we were doing. The problem that they had is when they wanted to grow rapidly, they got a huge injection of capital. It was like $4 or $5 billion. And so they started signing these ridiculous leases in like prime real estate. So they would almost double the lease rent, double the length of the leases. They'd get into these really, really bad leases that were just not advantageous to anybody. But at the time, Adam Neumann was like, I don't care. We're going to make more money. We're going to attract more people. WeWork is $1 trillion brand. We can't do that without just rapid growth. You need to spend to grow. He did that so aggressively that it just ended up collapsing. And they didn't obviously trust him to become...
It was like billions of dollars.
Yeah, he was burning
like
a shit ton.
a day, I think.
It's like 50 million a day or something he was burning at some point.
Crazy.
A day. He'd renovate all these different spaces, like $10 million, $2 million. And then, it was great. It was working, but then they didn't trust him to be like a stable CEO. So then when they booted him,
he wasn't stable.
Yeah,
and then
he
was like doing a lot of drugs and
yeah.
I mean, say what you want, but like he did it.
He did it.
He did it. I don't know.
He won.
Like his failure was still in the billions.
Yeah, and then he started a new company, which I forgot the name of it.
It's a real estate thing.
It's another real estate company. He bought a bunch of apartments with his exit
It was his
plan.
first idea, right? Like the communal living thing.
Yeah, communal living. It was the same kind of thing. It's called Live or something like that. But Adam... Or not Adam.
It was valued in the I think hundreds of millions. It was like his biggest investor, maybe SoftBank or something.
Andreessen Horowitz invested like $300 million.
The biggest investor from that invested in him again, which shows that he can't be that bad.
Yeah.
And like they invested like hundreds of millions before they even like launched a website.
This guy it's called Flow.
Yeah.
And there's no website, there's nothing. And Andreessen Horowitz gave them $350 million blank check, like basically a blank check offer on like a non-pre-revenue.
Before they had anything.
Nothing. There's no business
Just an
plan.
idea.
He's like, I've got great spaces and we're going to be
selling.
Yeah, bro.
He's a genius.
We got to bring him into square waves.
He's a fucking genius. So like for real. I mean, someone needs to like keep him in check.
Yeah.
He needs a CEO like around him to like check and balance him. But the way he can raise money and like push a company is fucking crazy.
They made his co-founder in the show, Miguel, look kind of like a beta, but I feel like
but that's
he probably
not real life.
wasn't.
Yeah, no.
And I also feel like
the only logical guy in the company.
he was probably the only. He
yeah.
was. Yeah, he was like, "Why are we doing this? Like, we need to maintain it." And he's like, "You don't know what you're talking about." This guy was fucking just on another
That's what
level.
shows that you see like all these guys with fast come ups. It's like very rare. Like even like guys like Bernie Madoff like are actually just like fucking fake
Scamming
money,
people.
scamming fake money.
So
That's a totally different comparison.
that's a very
I
different.
wouldn't
Like,
put
so
them in
Adam
that.
was like not a scammer.
Yeah.
He was just like head in the clouds, and no one checked him for too long. He was like he just like thought genuinely that he was gonna like catch up.
Hockey stick growth.
Hockey stick growth, aggressive.
Yeah,
and
he
then
grew
it broke.
way too fast for himself.
Yeah.
He had no business experience before that either.
Yeah, he was selling like baby.
He just randomly,
Diapers and shit.
SoftBank or whatever gave him like $4 billion in like a day.
How did they even trust him? Like, how did he even get that
So-
type of funding?
Because he grew that, like he was already pretty big
Yeah.
before that.
Okay.
He was huge, and then he ended up going to a convention to meet with Massa, and then in the show they made it look like he was doing like a speech for Massa and all this stuff. But he ends up meeting with this guy, and apparently, like I was reading all this stuff that said that he loved, his favorite thing was to show off the WeWork HQ. He would always put on like a big show. So Massa ended up coming after like 6 months of a meeting. He finally comes to the WeWork HQ. He does a 15-minute walkthrough in the HQ, hops in his limo, goes to the jet with him, and in between the HQ and the private airport, he got an investment of $4 billion or something like that. It's like he tells a story on some talk show where he's like, I did it in 15 minutes. I got $4 billion in 15 minutes. Who else can do that? And he was like, I mean, it's impressive as fuck.
He's got something.
He's got something
say what
for
you want,
sure.
like, so he's not like the best manager.
Yeah.
Or like, chairman or whatever, but he knows what he's doing at something.
And he's doing it.
He's got something right.
I know. It's crazy though that it was worth $47 billion at its peak, and what they say,
Now it's
45
million
million
is what it's worth right now. But he's been out of the company for years, since
2019, right?
2019, he's been out of the company. So no one turned it around yet.
You got to imagine.
So background, they went public, a lot of controversy around them going public and like the valuation dropping, whatever. They kick him out of the company. He got like a golden parachute package. Basically, they said, we're going to give you like $800 million. And I think maybe keep your shares.
He has some share. He had
Whatever
4%
it was, like
or
some
something.
shares, $800 million to fuck off, basically. So it's like,
He negotiated that with Massa.
I don't know that he got fucked too hard. He got almost
he
$1
still
billion
made out
to
$1
go
billion.
away.
Jesus.
Even still, though, could you imagine, like, you got to imagine, because it wasn't like he was scamming people, right?
Yeah.
You know how hard that would probably be to be let go of your
It's
own
a
business?
Really good company. Like
Yeah.
WeWork is like the best co-working space I think I've seen.
And the
Is there
idea,
other businesses like it?
A lot, but none quite as cool.
Yeah.
Like WeWorks are actually really, really cool. There's a bunch in Chicago we've worked at.
I've seen them. I've drove by them before.
They're
really
so
nice
fun.
inside.
And they're all designed really well. That's what they had the difference. Like you look at these Regis's, we even looked at a Regis.
And they're fairly priced. That's the other thing too. Their competitors aren't fairly priced. You get a lot for your money in those spaces.
Yeah. Dude, there's one down right by the Trump building on LaSalle. Oh my God. They got cafes. They've got like little telephone booths, conference rooms everywhere, kombucha on tap, sparkling water. They have all these different coffee on tap. You have all these like, it's an awesome experience to go and work. And I feel like nowadays, with everyone not working in the office and everyone's being distributed everywhere, it's kind of a badass idea. Like you pay a subscription every month and you can hot desk at any WeWork in the country.
And that one's only like 30.
It's a subscription?
It's a subscription.
Isn't it like $30 a month or something? Or,
it's like $100 for like hot desking. And then if you want like a private office, it's $299 a month per desk.
Whatever it is, we priced a few options and like WeWork actually was super fairly priced.
Yeah.
And it's
like,
the nicest.
Oh, it's so sick. I'm actually like disappointed that they went to this spot. Someone will probably do a good job when they buy them.
Someone's going to turn it around. Like a PE group will buy it and turn it around like really easily.
100%.
But I wonder if like if just the assets to bring in is enough to balance like
they filed for
finances
bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think that
like
was a
are they even able
thing.
are they even able to turn it around? Like
I think so.
Are the assets that they're paying for, because they're financing all these or have a mortgage on all these buildings, and I doubt they're buying them outright. It's just stupid.
But since they like filed for bankruptcy, I was like, watch that thing. They're going to go back and say like, we're going to cut some, probably go back and renegotiate the leases with like the landlords.
Because bankruptcy gives you the freedom to do that.
So it's definitely a strategic thing. They're not doing it because they're broke. I think they're doing it because they're like, okay, we need to renegotiate everything this guy did.
So let's file for bankruptcy. Let's get some new money in and let's renegotiate. And you got to think about it. One of the reasons they got into so much trouble is they negotiated crazy leases, but in literally the best areas of real estate. So you still have a class A asset that you can sell or renegotiate a lease on.
He basically went on like a year spree of saying like, when he got that money, he was like, get me as many spaces as possible and pay anything you can possibly pay and like don't take no. Like throw money at them until they say yes. So they went to like the best buildings in the world and they were like, I want this. They're like, okay, well, you know, you can't. And they're like, okay, we'll give you double the rent and we'll sign a 20-year lease type of thing. Like they just went crazy.
So are they leasing these buildings with just and they're having like basic
they lease them and
co-lease
so you got to think about it. They basically, let's say they rent for $50 a square foot and they get like a 10,000 square foot facility. Whatever your rent is going to be on that, $50,000 a year, $500,000 a year, whatever it is. They then go and try to sell a bunch of subscriptions and try to bring as many people in the office to try to make, $2 to $4 million a month on just people coming in, office spaces and all that shit. So they bring in great amenities so they can make profit on the lease. So they're like renting to rent. They're just renting to renters,
like
essentially. They're subleasing
it
to like 100 people versus one big tenant.
They build it out to be really, really amazing and like, worthwhile. Like a company like Google might be like, okay, we have 300 people in this zip code that are working from home. Let's get them a WeWork so they have a place to go. Yeah. That kind of thing. So those are their big customers. They also have like little offices like we have that you could rent from them, which is like, and the value add there is that if you're ever traveling, you can go to a different WeWork and like work there. So if you're in like London or Italy or LA, New York, whatever, there's a place you can go.
Do you guys know or do they sell off a bunch of or do they hop out a bunch of them?
This just happened
3
days ago, a week ago. So
they did
literally
sell
just
a lot of them, I think, when it all like happened. Years ago when they were doing.
I wonder if they were leasing or were they leasing all of them or
they're always
buying them out though?
Always
they might have a few they own, like for really nice spots, but I would imagine they're always leasing.
I think it's all leases. I think that's like what they were doing. But they're like long leases and like the tenant improvements probably were in the millions, like whatever.
Oh God,
like,
yeah.
Cause like they're, paying so much money. I mean, they buy like floors of buildings, like they lease out like floors.
I imagine a company that would work only if you like did it slow. You know what I mean? Like
I think it worked at the pace. He just went 2x speed when he should have just stayed at the pace he was going.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
a little slower. The smarter, like you always see real estate guys, they don't. It's always.
And that's what everyone told him
process.
though. Like that's what like all like the investment groups were saying. Like, dude, you have a really good company. Like you're killing it. Slow down.
And he's like, I want to be a trillionaire.
He kept going.
So it was never enough for him.
And then he tried opening like a school
for his wife.
Yeah, his wife tried opening a school, which was like this weird
hippie school
that like didn't have like real grades or something. Then they tried opening like I think like a plane. Like a flight company.
Oh yeah, they were going to do like a Virgin Airlines type of thing.
Yeah, he basically just like went crazy. I mean, he was like spending money on like, he bought like a surf place, right? Or like,
surf company.
He bought like a surf company because he liked surfing. Like he just started spending money like fucking crazy.
Have we ever tried to get this gentleman on the podcast?
I've emailed him multiple times. I've emailed like his media at Newman, and then I've emailed, I tried to search him on LinkedIn.
Dude, that would be the craziest person.
I would
that would be so cool.
I would do everything.
I would
fanboy so
I love this guy.
You've talked about this like multiple times.
Because he's like,
well, because we both like were like obsessed with the show too. which I know it probably wasn't exactly how it all happened, but it was such a good show.
If he's got any ounce of the vision that guy had in the show, it's just cool to hear from a guy like that.
Was it like a docuseries, like somebody playing him?
No, well, yeah, it was like
and like one of those overview ones?
Actual show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was an actual show, Wolf of Wall Street vibes kind of thing, like where it's like actually like a movie type of thing that was like loosely based on someone.
Gotcha.
And so it was loosely based on him, played by Jared Leto, and it was like one of the best shows I've seen.
It was so good. I've watched it multiple times.
It was like super like inspiring too, because he's like also he's an immigrant from
Israel.
Moved here like in his 20s, right?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Tried all these different businesses.
Yeah, tried a bunch of businesses, always failed. Everyone thought he was like a failure, and then he just
finds his one thing, pops, makes billions, becomes like this on the cover of Forbes, like just a top G.
Don't get me wrong, he made some wrong turns, but like we said, like he made a couple right ones.
100%.
He does not get enough credit, I think.
And it'd be interesting to see what he does with this new company when it comes to fruition.
I would love to meet him.
Like, oh God, yeah.
What is so magnetizing about a guy like that can raise that much money and like
how do you raise $4 billion in 15 minutes?
And he did it over and over and over. Like he did it from so many different places.
Like he got these crazy lines of credit from JP Morgan Chase. He was able to just walk in and just be like, cash, just give me cash. And he just did it.
I wonder if like when you're...
And none of it was like a scam though. That's the craziest part. Like it was all real. Like none of it was criminal. It's like he was just that good at selling what he had.
Jesus, I wonder when you're pulling out that much money or, asking for a loan for that much, you probably meet with the head of the fucking...
His personal banker was the CEO of Chase.
There's a scene like
Jamie
that.
Dimon.
Yeah, he met with, he went to a bank in the show. I don't know if it's real, but he went to the bank, went to like a teller, and he was like, I need a loan for like, what was like $5 million or something like that. And she was like, okay, well, you have like $4,000 in your bank account.
He's like, Google me.
He goes, Google me. She Googles him and says like, WeWork, $1 billion company. And she goes, let me show you to the CEO's office. He's like, okay, you're asking the wrong thing. The CEO kind of coaches him into asking him or telling him what to ask for.
Yeah, and he's
and
like,
they gave him like
$100 million.
a line for like $100 million against his
shares.
Yeah.
So you have $100 million from the bank. That's how all these guys like buy all this stuff because all their money's still tied up in the company.
Yeah, he had like thousands in the bank.
Yeah.
And he got $100 million to go and buy a house.
And they're like, you're worth, $700 million. So we'll do, whatever, 10% of that, we'll do 15% of that, whatever, we're going to give you in a line of credit. So we know that anything ever happens, we can cash it on your stock based on your current valuation. This guy gets $100 million, goes buys houses, planes, boats, dude, anything you want.
He was a madman. He would do, he would like, everyone like in the stories you read about him, it's crazy. Like he would like stand on tables and like just chug Don Julio at 10 a.m. He got popped because like on like a private jet, he had like a bunch of weed in a Pringles can or something like that. Like he was just like doing drugs, flying around, making a shitload of money.
I could see the comments, like these guys are just glazing so hard. Whatever though, you see those the comments on TikTok. Yeah, like the glaze is real.
I mean, it's all real. Like there's stories about him like driving with like business associates, like people like I don't know if they worked for him or like they were partners or whatever. But he'd be like driving them, but like when the meeting was over, he'd just stop the car and like make them get out of the car. Like in like the middle of New York, he'd be like, "Okay, we're done, get out." And they were just like,
aggressive.
They would have to like just get out of the car.
Jesus.
Like he did like weird.
You guys like this guy. This guy sounds like a prick.
He probably is. Like he's probably not like a
I just think he's like really interesting. It's not that I like him that much. I'm just so intrigued by it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be his best friend.
How does a guy like that do that?
I want to hear his mindset. How does he think? How does he talk? What words does he use? Like how did he attract all this? And like where did it go wrong? Like can you tell he's a little fucked up when you talk to him?
If you value money and if you see it as a scoreboard, not everyone does, but if you do see it as a scoreboard, then like he won that. He won that game, like by that measure. So like he's doing something right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. Like, so like what is he doing right? I have to know.
And even on the flip side of that too, like you talk about that guy fucking killed it, crushed it, did great, and then obviously fucked up. And then you get all these other guys that, who was the FTX guy? The Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
That dude was worth, I don't even know. Was he worth a couple billion, 10 billion?
His company was in the billions. It was like the largest scam ever in history.
Yeah.
I think it was like 40 billion or
dude,
140
did you hear about this guy?
Yeah, he just got sentenced, right?
He's about to get sentenced. They actually got his girlfriend to testify against him. And there's
that guy was actually just a scammer.
He was a scammer.
Right?
There was never
a little nerd, right?
He was a little fucking dweeb, yeah. And then he was taking a bunch of pills to like.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah. They had that like office in like Costa Rica where everyone was taking meth or whatever.
They lived 10 of the people lived in the same.
I think like all the employees were like
Adderall,
doing
I think, or some shit or something.
I think it said like meth. Like all the employees were just doing meth and coding all day or something.
They lived in a little penthouse, in a massive fucking penthouse in the Bahamas. 10 of them in the company. Then they were all like kind of fucking each other. And it was just really strange.
Was it a small group of people that ran this whole thing?
I think they had a huge supporting team. Like it was a huge company. They had the FTX arena in Miami. They bought our arena.
Jesus.
And then it was worth, God.
And he was like just getting so plugged in with politicians too.
Yeah, his parents were one of the biggest donors.
$40 billion.
$40 billion, dude. And what he would do is he would take loans. So he had two companies. He had FTX and then he had Alameda Research. Alameda Research was essentially like this, trading firm. And he would take loans from Alameda Research, or FTX would take loans from Alameda Research and owe like $10 billion to Alameda. What they would do is take all of these customer deposits to pay off these loans. And they would say that we have nothing like...
It was exactly almost like what Bernie Madoff did.
It was similar to Madoff.
More complicated.
Way more complicated
way of doing it.
But he was tweeting. That's crazy because I was watching some of the court document stuff, and they have all these... They use tweets that he would put out as like leverage against him. So like in 2019, he was like, I have never taken a loan from Alameda Research. That's never happened in our company. FTX is stable. And they would literally look at the reports at that time, like the day he tweeted, where they owe like $8 billion to Alameda Research.
Which is his company.
And then he had all these things where like there's no preferred treatment with these two companies. He was lying to everybody.
It's another one where you wonder, did he get like kind of like Billy McFarland who we had on? It's another one where you wonder, did he just get too big too fast and like try to cover it up and thinking that he would catch up eventually? Or was it actually like with bad intentions?
Based on the stuff I've seen, it was like from the start.
Yeah.
Like it didn't look like he was trying to run a legit operation at all once he started FTX, because he made fake coins and said that we have like $100 million in insurance. So if anything happens with crypto, we have $100 million payout to all of our customers. It wasn't even existing. He like from day one, he was like, yeah, we've got this thing. He was just a scum.
In like the investigation, I think there was like $10 billion they just like couldn't find.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, like in the billions, they couldn't find the money.
And there's just a bunch of nerds.
How? Okay, so it was a trading platform for crypto, obviously, right?
Yeah, like Coinbase.
Yeah, like Coinbase. Okay, so
so you would invest with them to invest in crypto.
Okay.
I don't know if
I think that's how it worked.
I wonder. So I'm just wondering, how do these companies, do they buy? Because I don't know shit about this. Do they buy a certain amount of like this crypto and they trade it through them, or like do you know, or I don't know.
To my knowledge, I think you take deposits. If it's like what you're saying, where you invest like here's 20 grand,
like a quote unquote hedge fund, but for like crypto. But I'm not going to say that for sure. I haven't read enough about like what the company actually did to say that for sure. I have an idea of what they did, but I'm not going to say it here.
And I'm pretty sure if that was the case, they would, like ideally, when you go into an investment group, you put like $100,000 in, and you trust them to distribute that 100 grand somewhere.
The customers would put the money in, and then he would like, instead of investing that money or whatever, he would use that money, and then he would pay them that money back on distributions from other things, which was like what, like
a little similar to Madoff.
Yeah, I think that's how he was doing it, and that's why like the red flags came up. Is that
like
inspiration? He lost billions.
And then he had like he started because he was one of the largest Democratic donors. So he was donating to all these Democrats.
Well, his parents were too. Like his parents were like really politically connected.
Because he looks like he's like 18, this kid.
He's like in his 20s, I think.
Check.
He looks young.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
He got 115 years in prison.
Is he sentenced yet?
I don't know.
That's like that probably the max penalty. He won't get that. He'll probably get like 15.
So I don't know.
He stole at least $10 billion in the fraud trial they just reported here. He filed for bankruptcy at a net worth of, on paper, of $32 billion, known for socializing with politicians. Let's see here. He is a massive fraud, swiping $10 billion from thousands of customers and investors to finance outside ventures such as political donations and purchases of luxury real estate. Assistant U.S. Attorney Nathan Raren declared his opening statement on Wednesday. When his business began faltering, Bankman-Fried backdated documents and attempted to hide his alleged crimes by deleting messages and instructing employees to automatically delete all messages on a monthly basis. He's 31, faces 115 years in prison if convicted of the charges against him. The team worked at a $30 million apartment in the Bahamas. He quit his job as one of these guys that's protesting or fucking whatever. Give the guy a break. This guy Bankman-Fried is a math nerd who didn't drink or party. Told you, he's a cuck. Now he's gonna be fucked in prison. So Ray, I just Googled it. They were doing Adderall.
Oh, it's just Adderall?
Just Adderall. So they would just take a bunch of Adderall and crank out work.
That's way less
That's pretty common fucking
that's way less
coding
interesting.
community.
They made it sound like it was like some fucking...
Of course they did.
Yeah. The article I read made it sound like he was like
He's
drugging
probably
up
innocent.
He's probably... Well, I think one of the things they were saying is he tried to... he knew what he was doing, and that's why he also didn't splurge on nice clothes and cars, so he could make himself look a little better if something were to go down. Like, because everyone always looks at these guys like Adam Newman. The reason they think he's a prick is because he made a bunch of money. He bought private planes and cars.
Yeah.
Versus this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried's like, I want to give all my money away, and I just want to be a good person. I drive a Honda. I drive a Prius. I got a T-shirt.
It's like he almost knew eventually when he gets caught, maybe this will help me in court.
Exactly. Then he called all of his political donors essentially, and I don't think anyone really
no
picked
one's
up the
picking
phone.
up for him.
Not him, bro. Not anymore.
Yeah, you don't want to get tied up with that. It was like investigated.
But his parents bailed him out with like a couple $1 million. He's probably got to have a shit ton of cash stored off and all these.
100%. There's no way they can find it. How are they going to find it?
Yeah.
Unless I don't know how the government would go about it. They probably watch all their accounts, but
yeah, but
cash,
it's probably
offshore,
like friends of family, trusts.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah, for sure. He's like,
you have to have hundreds of accounts when you have that much money. You got to think about how much that is.
Yeah, like hundreds, especially if they want to have insurance. I don't know if it's different for businesses, but like for banks, if there's insurance, it's $250,000.
So imagine if you had 10 billion and you wanted to be insured.
His office was like offshore too, so he probably had a lot of shit like out of the country.
Probably there's some banks that probably obviously insure more, I'm sure. But still, that's a ridiculous amount of money to hide.
Ridiculous.
And then you said there's 10 billion they can't account for?
I might have been like misreading it, but yeah.
Let's be careful with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane though.
That is, 100%. Well, dude, guys like him, the other guy, that guy, there's a difference between them. Like, Bankman-Fried was just blatantly corrupt. The other guy was just a dreamer, really ambitious, didn't know when to stop. There's
just like wrong strategy with a good idea.
Yeah, and very
good intentions, horrible execution toward the end.
Bankman had pretty good execution. I'll give it to him.
He did have a good execution.
He had 98%. He had 98% from the free throw line.
Here's my question. Okay, like I actually wonder this, just purely on the fact of some of these guys are really fucking smart, right? No matter how dumb or no matter how like bad of a person Bankman-Fried is, you cannot build a massive company like that if you don't have a little bit of wits, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So twofold. One, why not just go legal? Two, do you not think ever that you're going to get caught? Is that part of the problem?
Eventually the scam will
might be like a major narcissist.
Is that like part of the sociopathy of like,
yeah.
I'll never get caught? Like, I'm a fucking god.
I would think that would be the case.
And you've done it for 10 years and like I made billions. They love me.
He's like, I'm friends with politicians and I have so much money, like untouchable. Like probably that.
Yeah, think about like Bernie Madoff was literally, you got to think about how fucked up this guy is. Bernie Madoff, similar to Bankman-Fried,
was way smarter than any of them.
He was on the board of NASDAQ. They put this motherfucker on in a chair. That's insane.
Yeah, he was way smarter.
And he knew the whole time he was fucking everyone over, and he didn't even care. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I don't know. The guys like that, I feel like when you start making money like that and you haven't seen it before, it's probably so addictive. I can imagine.
For sure, yeah. That's probably the other thing. Like once you start tasting it, you don't want to stop.
And you get the power. You're hanging out with presidents, and senators, and
Let's cut it soon.
And there's always something more expensive to buy, right?
Always something more expensive
to buy.
Always more power.
Moral of the story: the scam will eventually run out. Let's hope it's after you die.
You'd rather be a Newman than a Bankman-Fried.
Listen, moral of the story: you can solve all this. Kill yourself; they can't sentence you.
Do it before they take you out, everybody.
That was deep. Talk to you next time.
Awesome.
All right, folks. Short episode this week, but we're having more guests coming on. We're just lining up some more.
Yeah, we got a really cool guest coming on in 2 weeks, right after Thanksgiving. Owns a huge prosthetic company. We're gonna talk to him about his what?
I'm thinking of like the heart as a prosthetic leg. You ever seen that? The Grandma's Kisses thing from SpongeBob.
No. I have not.
You haven't seen that where it's like a voiceover. It's like I'm hard as a prosthetic. Would you let him do his outro?
Heart of a prosthetic. I've never heard of that. But yeah, he's got a really cool company.
It's gonna be amazing,
and it's gonna be a really cool story. You guys are gonna hear all about it, and we'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.